Why most men only show up in church on Christmas. We return to reconnect with that place we identified as home, to commune with the larger family and to express gratitude. We also to return to count and show our blessings, in annual village parade of prosperity. I have been part of this ritual for the past 4 decades and there is one observation I have made. During Christmas, the church is filled with men. For most of the year, men are the visible minority in church and not as present outside of the male-dominated leadership. Men are also in need of the spiritual sustenance, moral teachings and community, but they are clearly not looking for these things in church. When one queries the average law-abiding, church-skipping, male citizen about his irregular attendance, the answers are rarely convincing. You might hear some complain of the quality of the church leadership, but we all endure damaged bosses, with anger management problems, so an opinionated pastor is not a sufficient deterrent. It is not the singing. Having to stand with a hymn book, humming out of tune and pretending to receive the glory is not that tiring an experience. Is it? There is a more obvious reason. The new church environment has evolved into something of a women's members club. It has the character of a well-organized committee, a sisterhood with established rules of engagement. I recently heard a conversation with my 15-year-old nephew about the importance of developing spiritual discipline. He does not go to church even though he was quite regular in his preteen years. I was curious as to why he stopped. When we broke down the reasons, he kept it frank. He was looking for testosterone in church and it was missing. Flowers all over, humility in the air and all. He did not want to be a typical church guy, the do-gooder Christian Union model. As a young man entering his manhood stage, and he demanded less restrictive nice guy role models, even in church. He wanted to be competitive and aggressive, and how was that need to be married with the image of the peaceful Jesus? The typical church male profile is modeled on the character of Jesus and sadly reduced almost to docility as the expression of commitment to faith. The other type of regular man who is a Christian on Sabbath and a sinner for most of the week is missing. Mostly he thinks he does not belong. Part of the challenge is that Jesus is presented through the female gaze. The popular image donning walls of rural households is a soft-featured Caucasian, long-haired and gentle soul-hugging children. Jesus is the meat lamb. There is a school of thought interested in reimagining Jesus through the male gaze and giving him a masculine makeover. In America, offshoots have emerged in what is termed as muscular Christianity. Off the back the original YMCA Young Men's Christian Association that put an emphasis on sports as the first base in the journey towards knowing God. Hard contact sports such as rugby, American football, boxing, mixed martial arts are played by devoted Christians not afraid to profess their faith as an ingredient of their success even after a bloodied encounter. To come to terms with inner strength in any sporting discipline, one starts with the body, then the mind and finally the spirit. It seems like a contradiction, that a man whose life is dominated by aggression and violence, would be drawn to the passive nature of church demeanor. How does Jesus work for the tough guy aspirations? The church focuses on the softer side of Jesus' story. But there are facets to the earthly life of the Messiah. Jesus was not just a nice man, at least in the effeminate way the term is applied. He was a rebel, a crusader for justice, a radical teacher and a change-maker who succumbed to righteous anger on more than one occasion. The human journey of Jesus is one of transcendence over the physical and earthly experience through salvation. The characteristics of the man in Jesus are sacrifice, love, service and faith. These attributes of strength are not as popular as physical brawn. True strength is not the external manifestation of power but inner power, as our greatest battles are very internal and private. The higher values are neither male nor female but universal human attributes. Men and women might approach spiritual destiny from different paths, but the end goal is one of salvation and the harnessing of the strength of the Spirit as the true focus of life. To emulate Christ requires a kind of strength that resides deep within us, and the pathway is spiritual practice. For all our investment in physicality and manifestations of strength, the real strength is the spiritual essence, the Christ spirit. Have a reflective Christmas and Happy New Year.